Well, here we have the final product of the filtration system for my lower half of my turtle tank. I'll go through the system and basically why everything is where it is, and then I will go through a little bit of the troubles that I had, that if I can make recommendations if anybody's doing this to avoid. It'll be very helpful. If I ever do it again, it'll be very helpful. So here's the whole tank. This is a 6-foot, 100-gallon tank. So the water will drop in from my overflow pipes from the tank above here. It'll come down. Down here will be the fluidized sand bed filter. The water will rise up. Here's my sand trap, water flow diversion. Flow over, down into here. Here is where my fluidized bioball system will be, and that's fluidized bioballs is really just a visual thing. It's fun to look at. It's almost hypnotic. As far as like actually needing that in the filter, I totally don't need it. It's just going to be there for looks. Down and into the back there, way back here, you can see the hole cut in. That'll head to this back black piece of acrylic that I have right there. That back black piece of acrylic will fill up, and this piece of acrylic is going to do two things. I used black because I'm turning this into a waterfall. So I basically wanted the black to and if I have gaps in the rocks and stuff that I form around here to make this waterfall, I don't. The black will absorb the light, so I won't need to do a lot of fine tuning if there are gaps and stuff in the rocks. It'll just look natural. If it were clear acrylic, it would capture the light. You'd be able to see through the gaps in the rock. It would look less natural. Oh, I'm having a hard time talking today. So that's number one, is I wanted a waterfall, and this accomplishes the waterfall. Number two is the bioball system, the fluidized bioball system. When the water comes down here, when the water comes into this system, the balls will be in here fluidizing. They basically hit the angle, is going to shoot right to the other piece of acrylic here, and this down pressure here is what's going to cause the balls to rotate within, back up here a little bit, within this chamber. So the water is going to come down, hit, and it's going to cause this rotation of the balls. Okay. Now, what I found in my other system when I did this, that just had a normal divider, is that as your water evaporates, this system here constantly gets less and less fluid because the water level is continually dropping. So the second function of the waterfall is to keep the water level always at this height. So this whole system up to the waterfall is going to be contained water level limit. This will never drop due to evaporation. It'll only ever drop if the pump gives out. So that is why I did that. It'll keep the fluid bioballs consistent, keep everything consistent. So once you're into the main chamber, this is basically the Refugium. Big, long Refugium. This is longer than a 55-gallon tank. One end to the other. I have a couple castle pieces. You can see them back there. That I will put in here. And the water level is not very high. There's my back piece of acrylic. The water level is not going to be very high. I'm going to raise it up to the level of that, and that's it. It's not going to go any higher. So that castle is going to be in here, and then I'm basically going to fill this with plants, kind of like moneywort, which is what you see going in there. So it's basically gonna, as the waterfall cascades through the stones that I built for it come down, it's gonna be like it'll basically look like a swampy, overflowed mess of a deteriorating castle. So it'll be kind of landscape, so to speak. I have a big giant bullfrog. He's actually staring at us right now. That I'll put in there, and he'll basically be like the dragon of the castle, so to speak. So he'll have plenty of room, plenty of stuff in there, plenty of plants and whatnot to hide in, but overall the water is basically only going to be about 4 inches deep. So I put a little egg crate or light diffuser, depending on who you talk to, over the top of there, so if I put anything else in here, or just to keep anything large out of the sump room. And then the last chamber is for the sump pump. And that makes up the filtration unit, Refugium, with one creature in it. I'll throw goldfish, feeder fish in there for the frog to eat, but other than that, there won't be any fish in this area. If the frog croaks, pardon the pun, I'm not sure what I'll throw in here. The one thing I like about the turtles, is I do not need to heat the water. The water can stay at room temp, and it cuts down on electricity bills and whatnot. So I'm not planning on getting anything that will require me to heat the water. So I'm trying to look at creatures that are in that area for the turtles, and the locally caught frog is right there. Okay, so issues that I had. One thing that I'll forever do in the future, when doing bends, 90-degree bends like that, these are just additional pieces of acrylic, cut and then silicone together, is I will do this. Which all this is a piece of acrylic bent around a 2x4 and blowtorched with a butane torch. It takes only a few seconds for it to heat up. The only burn marks you get is that little bubbling. And then you get a nice sharp corner. That way it's just formed one piece. When I found out I could do this, I basically thought the acrylic would burn, so like char, and that's why I wasn't going to do it, because that would just look horrific. But yeah, come to find out it doesn't do that, so holy moly, you can, I mean, one solid piece of acrylic is obviously going to be just way easier to work with than trying to set and silicone in multiple pieces. I tried it out on this black piece of acrylic first, because if it did burn, it wouldn't show up. And when I discovered it didn't burn, I tried it on a piece of acrylic that I wasn't going to use, and sure enough, it didn't burn. So I did this piece, and that piece came out nice. So I will do that. For any edges or curves or anything else, I will just heat up the acrylic and bend it. The other issue that I had, because I was using separate pieces, was keeping them in place. I couldn't find any real good clamping system to keep them in place, so they kept moving and kept sliding on me. That was really upsetting me, to the point where I put in, once I got the pieces to set, which I used a CA glue from a local hobby shop to just tack in the corners and set them. That actually went faster than I wanted to. I meant to leave this piece out and get up in here with a razor and make the edges all nice and clean, and because I had an issue with setting the acrylic pieces and they slid on me and messed up the whole tank, and I had to get out a razor and shave all the silicone off all the sides and everything. When I got to cranking away and the Model CA glue worked and I was tacking it, I just kind of went on like just a workhorse tangent and went way ahead of myself. I forgot to take a deep breath, stop, slow down, because I already lost so much time in the screw up. I was just basically trying to make up time where I shouldn't have. The other thing I need to do is find a tool for my toolbox. So I'm trying to get my fat mitts in between little cracks to shave off areas where the acrylic slid on me, just so it doesn't look like crap. I was not prepared with a tool for that, so I have this line down there that I have to go to Home Depot or something and research a tool, to some kind of extension hobby knife that I can get in here with a razor and scrape all that excess silicone off so it doesn't look like crap. So I can't do anything really about that, because you just can't, I can barely get 2 fingers in there. So that was the issue. That was basically my big issue right there. I will forever heat and bend the acrylic, as opposed to score, snap, and then set separate pieces. This whole piece here, I could have just heated and bent these 2 corners. I wouldn't have needed to set it at all. Pressure would have kept it all in place between the glass, and I wouldn't have had any issues whatsoever. I wouldn't have needed to get into the crack along this entire area here. I could have stayed out of that and not had to silicone that whole area. I had to silicone this whole area up underneath here. Yeah, just all that would have been way easier. The other issue that I had when cutting out these little gaps here, I was able to sketch a perfect square to cut out the corners, and there was just no way to score it and snap it properly. No way that I could find to snap it properly, so every piece ended up with these really crappy chips and now it's completely irrelevant as far as like water, because it's sealed, completely around the hole. But it just, I like things to look, their best. So when they look kind of crappy, it upsets me a little bit. So that's there's just no real good way to do that. What's there has actually been filed down with a dermal, or a Dremel. So it was actually a lot worse. Same thing happened over here. It's just real jagged. There's no good way to break it. So when it did break, it basically tried to shatter all the acrylic in the surrounding area. So that's the filter. That is going to be the showcase filter. I will still be getting a Reach razor blade so I can clean the silicone off the areas that I want to. Something else I wanted to mention is I started out using GE silicone for plumbing, 100% pure clear silicone for plumbing, and whereas my previous Piranha tank I had used GE 100% silicone clear for windows and doors, and I ended up switching back to the windows and doors because the I don't know what the difference is and how they make it, but will it zoom in on its own? Apparently not. Okay, window, door, attic, and basement. There's this GE silicone. Okay, whereas the other silicone that I had, bear with me for a second, I'll grab it so you can just visually see it instead of trying to describe it. was this. Kitchen, bath, and plumbing. Okay, so this was what I tried using on here. The internet provides a lot of searches on what to use and what not to use, and unfortunately the majority of what not to use is based off fear of the fact that nobody's used it. One or two people say that, well, I used it and I didn't have any problems, and one or two other people say, well, I used it and it killed my whole tank. You know, whatever. Most people just stick with what they know works. Well, I don't have anything like precious going in here, and I'm not trying to do a $10,000 saltwater system, so I don't have a problem experimenting and finding out what works for everybody else. So I was trying the this silicone just to see if there was a difference, and with this stuff there actually is a difference. Now I don't know about this whole mold prevention crap. That's some kind of chemical that's supposed to be in the silicone that's supposed to bleed into the system and kill off healthy bacteria. I'm pretty sure that's all bullshit. I mean, maybe in a sensitive saltwater tank that might be an issue, but I have it going in my piranha tank, and I have never lost a single fish in my piranha tank, minus the piranhas eating the other fish. So piranhas are hardy, so like I said, maybe it's in a different tank it would matter, in a saltwater tank it would matter, but I doubt it. I think it's just a fear of the fact that people know the one works and then they read the other one, it scares them, they don't want to try it. Okay. So my issue with using this, and why I won't use this again and I'll continue to use the door, is when it's on the acrylic. I'm trying to find a good example here. When it's on the acrylic, it peels off ridiculously easy. I don't have any good examples to show because I pretty much stripped and replaced it all. But you could go up to the acrylic and go to a lip and just kind of play with the lip, and with literally no pressure you could pull the lip back off the acrylic and then grab it and then just pull the entire piece of silicone just clean off. It wasn't clinging to the glass in the acrylic. Not like the door and attic, door, window, attic, basement silicone. So as far as a difference between these two, definitely go with the blue when you're doing glass and acrylic. It's a difference. I don't know why, but it is a difference. Like I said, the kitchen, bath, and plumbing just peeled right off the acrylic like it wasn't even adhering to it. It would just slop on there and peel right off. That being said, water pressure would keep it on. But that being said, because I couldn't get up on the inside of these, here, let me get a different angle here. Originally, because I was having a hard time doing it, I couldn't get up inside there on the inside angle of this piece, so I only caulked the outside angle with silicone. And when I did a test run to see if it holds water, this piece immediately sprung a leak. It literally just pushed the silicone just clean out and just sprung a leak. All the other pieces do not have that. Like this piece down here, I was able to get the inside because it got smeared. It's just, you can kind of see. I basically put enough on it to where I could smear it to get both sides. So this side, the silicone peeled off. This side, I couldn't get to it to peel the silicone off. When I did a test run on that, it held because water pressure pushed the silicone in place. Obviously, water pressure wasn't pushing it away, so it held, and it held overnight just fine. Still don't like it, still don't trust it, so I peeled that completely off and did a whole nice big thick bead there, and then I went inside there and did a silicone bead on the inside here, and then re-silicone the outside there. So avoid kitchen, bath, and plumbing silicone. So there is my finished aquarium. I still have to, the frame I have all this is going on rusted out on me, so I have to take it to a shop and sandblast it, and then I'm going to spray paint it with that anti-rust crap, Rust-Oleum stuff, before I bring it in here. So that's not in the house yet. That's still on my to-do list. The next thing that's on my to-do list is the top 6-foot tank that's also 100 gallon that's actually going to house the turtles. I am going to build basically a cabinet, kind of like a canopy on top of it. So the top of the tank, I basically have another cage. And the cage on top of the tank is going to actually be what houses the turtles. And then there will just be a ramp coming down from the top of the cage going in that the turtles can access to get into the tank to swim. That allows me to avoid what I got going on here, which is a divider inside a tank and then water going up so far. I'll be able to fill water all the way up to the top of the tank, so the turtles have the entire 100-gallon tank to swim in, and then the area for their land and lighting and everything else will actually be on top of the tank, setting in these grooves. So the turtles will have the entire top, all 6 feet of the tank to walk around and play or do whatever the hell they want turtles do, and then there'll be a hole in the bottom and a ramp going into the tank that the turtles can use to get in and out of the water, and then they'll have the entire 100-gallon tank to swim around in. So that's the next project I should say, since this one's done. I'm going to give this a few more days for all the silicone to set, and then I'll do a bunch of water runs on it just to make sure that everything's able to handle all the pressure. Then I still got to buy a reach tool with a razor so I can get into some areas that my fat hands can't get into, so I can scrape silicone, make it look nice and pretty. Then I'll get constructing on the cabinet for the top. I'm not sure if I'm going to use acrylic like kind of how I have just sitting there, bend it around, or if I'm going to build it mostly out of wood and then just have like cabinet doors with acrylic windows so you can look in there and see. I kind of like the idea of having it all acrylic, that way you can see everything, you just don't have wood blocking anything. But on this one I will go with the easier route, just whichever one happens to be easiest to do, because this will be a experiment, because I've never done that before, so this is all going to be new. I don't want to go the most expensive route and screw it up. So there you have it.